Hey everyone, this is Will here with Flow Trade Effects. I'm bringing you guys a new video. This is going to be a trade breakdown slash update video. So I guess let's just get into it. As you guys can see, the results on my screen here for the first time are actually all negative, like net negative. Yeah, we lost a lot of money today. As you guys know, I have been putting up a track record of fairly consistent, profitable trades, and that's pretty much what it has been. And I do manage multiple accounts, so this is actually one of my accounts, but it just so happens to be my FTMO account, which I recently acquired. So for those who don't know, the FTMO is a managed account. I currently, well, I recently was taken the challenge and I passed the challenge and verification phase for the $200,000 account. So I was managing $200,000 for the FTMO company, and it was cool. We worked together for about a month. In that time period, I was going through most of the challenge and the verification phase, so that took up a bulk period. But once I did actually get the managed account, I did get busy and I got active right away. So I was able to start generating profits considerably fast. As you guys can see here, um, I did lose a considerable amount, and for $2,000 or $200,000 account, the maximum daily cutoff for the losses is $10,000. And as you can tell here, we actually lost 10.7. So that means that I did in fact lose my account. Now I want to break down these trades, kind of go over them. Um, you guys might also notice that I was actually up profitable for the day at some point, and then ended up on a slightly like on a losing streak pretty much. So we're going to get into those trades, figure out what happened, why we took so many losses, and get into where I currently stand with FTMO and what my current plans are as far as like trading goes and how I typically handle losses. So, first and foremost, let's go ahead and speak on let's go ahead and speak on the fact that we traded the Euro USD and the GBP JPY considerably. And then we also took a couple trades on the Euro CAD and then a couple more trades with the GBP JPY. Excuse me. So what we're going to do here is pull up my chart, and I'm going to go ahead and minimize this screen right here with the results on them so that we can focus on the chart behind them. And again, I believe this is going to be the Euro. So we're looking at actually the GBP JPY. Let's go ahead and pull up the Euro USD since that was the first pair that we were looking at through the night. Okay, so we got that right there. We got that. And that should put us right here. Cool. So as you guys can tell, this is just my chart. You might see a couple moving averages on here and these blue boxes. Typically when I break down these trades, I'm using bear charts just because it's simpler, and I typically do trade just bear charts with price action mostly. But as of lately, these have been here to just as like a little guide, or so to speak. I've always used moving averages in the past, but these are just there for visual purposes. I don't necessarily use them as a strategy or for any purpose other than the visual aspect of them. But I do want to break down that those are there. These blue boxes are simply just support and resistance lines that were either interacted at or not interacted at, and I just marked them as the market was live at those areas, and that's pretty much just what you're seeing. Now, when I brought up the euro, we had two trades, one that resulted in a win and one that resulted in a loss. The trade that resulted in a win and the trade that resulted in a loss were taken roughly within a few pips of one another, but not at the same time. And that was last night. So we'd have to calculate several hours back and that puts us at so ultimately we entered the euro roughly around this area yesterday, and since I was using such heavy lot sizes, I was able to get out of this market for a decent low profit before it was able to turn against me. Now, if I load the market here back up again, I'm gonna load it up on my mobile device here just because it's easier to reference. You guys will notice that I put two shorts in, and the first one resulted in a profit in which I was able to get in the market just about here, and it came down before coming up against me for several hours. In the period where it came up against me, that's where I had placed my other trade where I thought it might be dropping again sometime soon, but instead it went against me even more. And that's when I stopped that trade out manually. But as you could tell, it was short sighted because the market dropped considerably after that point, which I definitely felt like, okay, sometimes you get whipsawed out of positions, but that's why it's always important to have relative risk management in place. Like, although I felt like my stop was small in comparison to what the move was going to do, I was expecting that if the market was going to break above here, it was going to continue to come back up. But instead, it turned back around and dropped back in my favor. But by that point, I was already out of the market and sleeping. So I was not very concerned with that. But before I did go to sleep and before I did leave this market to do what it was going to do, I went over here and checked out the GBP which I also traded yesterday. So around the same time. So for this pair, you could tell I got two shorts in as well, except these two both worked out in my favor. So I got in roughly 639. So it was like around this time somewhere when I had gotten to the market and it had dropped, I believe, right into my favor, more or less. So I was able to get into this market and out of it relatively quick. I entered, something like this, put like a stop right above there or something, and then I just trailed the market down 20, I think 20, 30 pips towards the downside, which was about a 2-to-1 ratio, I believe I was calculating for my stop. And yeah, that happened relatively quick, and that's how we ended the night. As you could tell, there was much more to go with this market, and it dropped back down to about this area, which I believe the ADR was projecting somewhere like roughly around here, which the market did eventually reach, but we're not going to talk about that at this moment because we did essentially trade this market again shortly afterwards. But this time, instead of trading this market towards the downside, we were trading it towards the upside. But this was the following morning. So these trades happened between last night and this morning. Um, the trades from last night ended up in a net profit. I think I was up about 3K by the time the trades ended by the time these shorts ended up getting to their expiration, and then calculating the losses plus the little win that I took from the Euro USD, we were up roughly around 3K before we had been on the string of losses, which took us down ultimately 14 or so K. But yeah, we'll talk about why I took this trade right here. As you could tell, the market was kind of in between this high extreme area right here, which I don't even know if you would be able to tell. Let me see, I'll try to minimize it. Okay, here, cool. So the market was in between this high extreme here and this low area down here. Now, remind you, we only seen this was happening at this time. We knew that this level existed and we knew that this level existed, but we didn't know exactly where the market was going to go. So I figured since it got up here and started stalling out, if it was going to break above here, that it had a good chance of going up towards this high extreme. But I felt like since it ran out of steam here, as opposed to just going up and continuing, I took my short, and that's price action just right there for you. So that's why I said I take a lot of my trades based on price action because that's exactly what this was. Now, when it comes down to where I am in this trade, where I was in this trade at that point, like I mentioned, after the close of about this market here, I seen that there was about that much space towards this side, even if it was going to break out, pull back, and then maybe continue towards the upside. So that's why I had set my targets relatively tight, and I set my stops relatively tight as well. Still offering about a 2 to 1. I was managed to squeeze out of this um, this specific pair, which brought me net positive as I mentioned, and that's what I closed my night on. I did see that there was a bit more room potentially to get down to this side, but I knew I wasn't like it wasn't law and there was nothing that said the market had to move this way. And based on the momentum that was picking up in this market specifically around this time, if this was met with more follow through, significant follow through, I would say, after this specific candle closed, then I would have felt more comfortable aiming for a target down here. But since it didn't, I just left this market to be. And it also gave me the indication that it might end up actually going towards the upside for the morning. And that's why, as you could see in this, here we go. That's why in my results here, I actually came back in this market and bought it because it looked like, oops, because it looked like specifically leaving this area, it dropped to about here, and that was kind of within the area of a breakout, a breakout pullback continuation as I like to trade so often. Excuse me. And that's why I got into this market. I bought it, but it actually ended up dropping. It went in my favor just a few pips, but not enough for me to feel like, oh yeah, this is smooth. But it ended up dropping against me. I closed that specific trade out, and I also had a pending stop just below, just in case the market wanted to drop a little bit and then pull up a little bit higher. But one thing I've picked up over time is that I don't like to average into a losing position. I rather, and when I mean average, I don't like to add into a losing position. I prefer to add into a winning position. And actually, I don't even like to do either of those things. I'd prefer to just add the max, like not the maximum position I can use, but if I feel like I want to use a bigger lot size or I want to have a bigger position overall, I rather use it when I start my position in the beginning, just because you often get the most optimal entries that way, as opposed to averaging into whatever period it is you're looking to trade and just kind of taking the average price over whatever it is that you might have entered in. I like for the sake of like efficiency and like margin, I prefer to like just use my full position at once as opposed to using smaller positions at a time. But I do use smaller positions when it is time for them. But I just wanted to add that out there. So I did close out that stop because obviously I took the loss and I wasn't going to average into more losing. So I closed that out, and in fact, this market ended up dropping considerably against me again. So that was the morning and the first trade that I took of the morning, in fact. So I didn't let that stop me. I actually went over towards the EuroCAD, and this time I could pull up the EuroCAD, which, and as you could tell, I shorted this market. The only issue with this market is that even though I did short it, I believe I got in around here. So once the market had broken through this level, I like to trade these breakout pullback continuations. I let the market break through it, and once this thing closed, I had gotten in expecting a pullback, but it actually ended up going a bit further than I anticipated. And the leverage, or the I said the leverage, but the position sizing that I was using was relatively large. And although the market ended up dropping in my favor, even to this point right now, 80, almost 80 pips, it definitely didn't do it within the spacing that I had allotted for it. And this is where it comes into the FTMO rules and regulations, because although this position was still open and I wasn't negative, like I had plenty of margin for it. Since I had already taken these losses in the day, it actually calculates it actually calculates the amount of losses that these factor in, and since that accumulated to over 10,000 at this point with the open and closed positions, everything was closed at that exact moment, like everything. So even though this position ended up going and turning around and coming back into profit right after and dropping into significant profit even more afterwards after that, this trade was already closed. And likewise for my GBP JPY trade, which is the final trade that I took this morning after noticing that it had definitely dropped last night, came up, did something insignificant towards like upside as opposed to like seeing that follow through as I was expecting towards the upside. It ended up closing here with a relatively small wick towards the upside, but still it wasn't even able to close past the wick that it made previously. And then once the next candle opened, it actually was the candle that I had bought on, which I was expecting it to maybe continue a little bit further beyond that, but it quickly came down here, which is where I had my initial stop loss at, and then I was taken out of the market here as well. And once I seen that that one had sold in my favor, once I seen that that one had sold in my favor, actually no, I didn't buy this one. My bad. I'm sorry. My apologies. I didn't buy this trade at all. I'm looking at the results right in front of me. I could tell I didn't buy it, but once I actually seen that this was dropping instead of buying, because that trading idea I guess didn't work from last or this morning. The first trade I took this morning, I did buy it. And since it didn't work out and I seen that it was dropping instead, I got stopped out of this position. Once I seen that it was dropping, I ended up getting in this position. And instead of dropping considerably, it was, I believe, at 163. So once I seen it was dropping about here, the market was down here with like maybe 2 minutes left of the hour to close, and then it went boop right up here real quick, literally 17 pips towards the upside, like just against me real quick, and that's where I had gotten stopped out, literally. Like I entered right here, and if I had waited, and I typically wait for the close of candles, I usually don't enter like even in the last few seconds, just because stuff like this kind of happens. And this is just a pro tip for anybody watching this. Like if you've been in that situation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't been in that situation, it's always wise to just wait until the end of the candle close and enter whatever position you're looking to enter, because it can only either benefit you, and if it is going to work against you, it's usually only going to work against you by a small amount. And then in my case, because I didn't wait, it actually worked against me a small amount, but that small amount ended up being a large amount. And yeah, that ended up being the catalyst to take me out of the market completely. Because, like I said, all my positions that were open at the point of this reaching the number that they tell you you can't go over, everything stops. It all freezes, it all closes down. It is no more trades. Like the chart still moves, but your trades stop instantly. Everything it goes to zero. But that was just the trades that I had taken today. And as you could tell, the lesson of the day would be over leveraging and you know, being disciplined to not over leverage will definitely alleviate this for any time you're in a situation in the future. Just maintain and realize that like I was in the home stretch actually as far as the FTMO and where I stand with that. I was in the home stretch as far as meeting my first profit split deadline. So that was what I was looking towards achieving. So all these funds that you see me and all the trades that you were looking to see me take, I was just looking to like take advantage of these last couple of days before my first profit split, where I would be able to, you know, benefit from the fruits of my labor and all this hard work I've been putting in. And unfortunately, I just fell short. You know, I take full responsibility. The market didn't glitch on me. I didn't see any type of like, you know, weird manipulation. There was no spread widening, nothing like that. It was all me. I just over leveraged myself and I wasn't paying attention to the rules. This is actually the same exact reason why I failed my first FTMO challenge for the 100K because I actually violated the maximum loss because I didn't realize that the open and closed positions counted towards the number. I thought it was only what was closed, and this in fact is not like valid. It's everything. So open and closed, be mindful of that because I actually got caught up on it twice. And I literally had my profit split day coming up on the 14th or the 15th of this month, I believe, which it's the 11th now. So literally in 4 more days, I would have been able to close out all of my profits and be able to reap the benefits of it. But all in all, the hope is not lost because I have been profitable with, you know, my involvement with this company so far to this point. And although I've only been able to manage the account for 7 days, we are still net profitable with them for roughly around $6,000, which qualifies us for a refund of our fees, which we initially put down. And it actually qualifies us for a profit split. Although we aren't able to manage the account anymore, we are still able to get a profit split, the 80/20 profit split for this amount that we were able to generate with them, which is still very generous and kind of them because in most cases, once you violate the rules and it's in the contract that you violated the rules, you really should, like, technically you're not entitled to much. But that was my understanding. But to clarify, that is not the case. It actually, if you do generate profits with them, even though you violate the rules, so say you generate $100,000 in 2 weeks, and that's your first profit split. If you violate and lose $10,000, just because you're up still $90,000 doesn't mean that you still get to manage their trading account. That just means that that $90,000 now gets split between you and the company 80/20, and like you get 80%, they get their 20% still, and then yeah, you guys go your separate ways and you get refunded whatever fees that you paid to do the challenge, which is cool. Now, for example, if I wasn't profitable and so I started with the 200K or whatever, and I lost $10,000 from the beginning, and my balance is at 190, you're not entitled to owe them anything from my concern or from my knowledge at this moment. And if you did pay a fee, you would not be entitled to it back either. So you would just be on your way. But if you do perform, even if you don't perform to the highest level and still be able to maintain that profit until your profit split date, you can still benefit from this by either getting your feedback at the very least or being able to, you know, get something back. Now, as far as like my standing with the company, I still believe they're a good company. They're cool people. They did reach out to me even again and was asking like, "Hey, was this a mistake?" Like it seems like they're pretty on top of it. Um, they did review the results that I had remaining and did let me know that I was eligible for that profit split, which will be, you know, detailed to me later on. But yeah, as of now, I plan to just improve my trading a bit. Obviously, I have some discipline things to work on, but still going to be managing my other accounts that I have, still going to be trading daily, still going to be providing, up my content and, you know, broadcasting my journey because this is a journey. I was just really close to feeling like all the work I've been putting in for the years and time has just been like, you know, so close to being paid off. Like being a prop trader and as like a investor feels like, you know, making it to the league or the NBA or something. But like you know, to lose that and like still be able to have the talent or the skill, it just shows me like the journey's not over. And I'm confident, more confident than ever, that I was able to do it once. I can do it again. And I still would like to manage 400K total. And hey, who knows what the future has in store. So um, I appreciate you guys for tuning into this video. Definitely was a little bit longer than normal, but I felt like I had to get a couple things out there in this one. And yeah, like I said, plan to still be trading. Definitely plan to still be trading. Still provide you guys more videos in the self-study series so that you guys are able to like follow along with my learning and progress as well. I think I'm going to be doing some psychology videos as I go through the process of how I cope with my losses, which I guess I'll speak on real quick here. When it comes down to losses, gotta remember that this is still within the frame of like, well, let's see. Now, when it comes down to losses, there's a figure or a picture image thing that used to be up there. Let me see. Here it is. Let's see if I can pick it up. All right. Let's see if I can full screen this thing. All right. So check it out. Not nearly what I wanted to bring up here. This is just ridiculous at this point, but all right. This should work as far as being able to, um, maybe not. Yeah. So it's not going to go that way. Well, I wanted to show some things on here because I thought it would be helpful. Oh, here it is. So when it comes down to making the point here, as far as like losses goes, I lost $10,000, which compared to the account, it's a $200,000 account. It's about 5%. When it comes down to recovering from a 5% loss, you only need to make back 5.3%. That's not unattainable with solid risk management. Um, as I demonstrated in my previous video when it came down to how I passed my verification, I simply risked about 0.2% and I would aim to make 0.5%. So I'd risk about $500 to risk to make about $1,000, and often it would end up working in my favor, about 2, 3, 4 to 1 sometimes. So I'd end up making like $2,000 sometimes, and that would just be how I ended up trading my way out of any drawdowns I would end up with. I would be strict whether I was able to make more or less. I would just usually stop once I got there. But when it comes to this, I don't see the 10,000 as a large loss, and it didn't seem uncontrolled. I definitely didn't mean to lose $10,000 in one day the way I lost it. But when it comes down to these harder to kind of recover losses, I mean, I think once you get past 25% and you have to make 33%, or once you lose 30%, you have to make almost 50% back just to make that 35%. It's like it starts to get a little out of hand. But losing 5% is almost like making 5% again. Once you make 5% again, you almost don't realize the loss again. So that's kind of how I mentally cope with it, as far as how I physically go about building back my account balance from a drawdown. Like I mentioned, I typically scale down my trades a bit. So as you guys seen, I was trading relatively large lot sizes because I was way up. I didn't necessarily have to trade those lot sizes to be able to make a satisfying profit for the day. I was just, as you could tell, I was aiming for a bit more. So being able to keep that within frame while also being able to reasonably and respectfully, like, ask yourself, like, okay, what would a little bit more risk feel like? And as long as it's within your comfortability level and it makes sense for how much you can potentially make back, then I say it's worth looking into. And that's kind of how I approached it and how I typically approach clawing back from any losses. Usually, I just take a very mathematical approach, minimize my, not minimize, but scale back my trading size until I got my risk management back under belt and I'm at, got my trading consistency back underhand. And I believe that's what I'll do for for the rest of this week. I still have that profit split day coming up, as I mentioned. So I believe I'll be able to trade until I'll be able to get to that date. And then once they refund me my money from this first challenge and they send me the profits from the rest of it, I feel like I might end up looking at the situation as a bonus. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's all profit. I invested 1,000 something dollars and they end up refunding me that back. And then they end up giving me more profits on top of that. So obviously, the relationship is not still there, although there's no bad blood between the company and I actually asked them if I can start another challenge, and they said, yeah, whenever you're ready. So I'm anticipating seeing how I feel in a few days, maybe this weekend, once next week starts, see how it feels, and yeah, maybe even get another trading account going with them, or get another challenge going, potentially going for the full 400K this time, just for the sake of the completion of it. I know I told myself I wanted to do 400K initially, and I went at it with 100K at first, and then 200K is what we secured actually. And then now that we lost the 200K, I still had intentions on going for another 200K regardless, once they had given me the refund back. So I might end up still doing that and then building up the process slowly but surely. But time will tell, and I'll keep you guys updated along the process. Either way, I just wanted to be transparent. I mean, I do win pretty often, like consistency wise. I've been working at that for a long time. And when it comes to trading results, I typically am pretty on point. But today, things got a little out of hand and the market moved relatively weird for me, or at least I wasn't expecting it to move in the way that it did. So when the market gave me those whipsaw quick moves, it definitely was something that I wasn't expecting and I wasn't really prepared for. But you have to be able to be ready for that stuff to happen. Definitely got to be prepared for that stuff to happen. So that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to, oh yeah, I just wanted to keep it, it's a bit longer than I want. But hey, that's pretty much it. That's everything we at right now, pretty much. It was a very surreal few days trading with that account and being able to manage it, or lack thereof, I guess, when it all comes down to it. But being able to get to that point and passing both the verification and the challenges and knowing that I have that under my belt, knowing what it felt like the first day to trade that managed account, and knowing that like the first day of profits were real generated profits that they were gonna pay me for, but like knowing that it wasn't real until like even when I started the whole challenge and passed and verification and passed and got to the account and they actually gave me the credentials and whatnot, I still was like, you know what, this is only gonna be real when they actually pay me and give me my money back. That's when it's gonna be real, you know? But like I knew it was real because I seen the results from other people and like they're a real company, they're legit, they're not gonna, you know, it's not like it's not screwy or fishy. Like it seems like it because it's like It's a real opportunity, like, but you have to really know what you're doing because you could really lose it. Like I had the opportunity directly in my hands, and I literally slipped right out of it. So, it definitely gave me a certain hunger moving forward to like bounce back. And I feel like anybody who's achieving something or is like on the road to like do something real big or something that they've never done before, like you're gonna have some roadblocks, you're gonna have some stumbles and some hurdles along the way. It's like those are expected. You ain't never done this before. I ain't never done this before. So like when it comes down to like, you know, how you react to those hurdles and those stumbles and roadblocks is what's gonna determine your like ability to like survive or like sustain or thrive even in any environment, but mostly in any pursuit that you're going after is what I'm realizing. And like when I first got like when I first seen what happened and I knew, okay, I violated this rule and it settled in, I instantly was like, man, that sucks. Like I didn't think like, damn, I'm a terrible trader. I'm just like, darn, I forgot about that rule. Dang. And that's how I felt really. Um, Definitely something that I was like, all right, I got to work on this now for sure because this is not the first time this has happened. But it's a risk. At the end of the day, it was all a risk. So when I went into it initially, I knew that this could work and I could pass or I could fail. So I ended up passing and getting as far as I did, and it worked out really well and it opened my eyes significantly. And I was actually able to generate some profits. And now I'm able to be expecting some type of profit. But it's just the beginning of a very long journey that's been ongoing so far. So it's not a marathon or it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, like they say. So I'm not here thinking, oh crap, I gotta get this tonight. Nah, I'm cool with taking my time and trying to get at it again. But it definitely is not gonna be the same going at it the second time, knowing what I know and having the experience that I've experienced so far. But so anybody out there keeping track or staying on this journey or maybe thinking about taking that challenge themselves, don't fear it, bro. Because and don't even like overhype it. Don't get even too emotionally attached to it. Just perform, especially if you know you got the results already. You already got the skill set down pat. And that's what anything you're doing in life, bro. When you got the skill set, you practice it out. All you gotta do is believe in yourself. That's the last element that's necessary. Believe in yourself and really put yourself out there and really try to do it. Like I've been trading doing this shit for myself for a minute, but to be able to do it on the scale of like that I was just on, that feels surreal. And I know that I can. And I just wanted it to be possible for anybody else out there to feel like they can too. And you might be thinking, oh man, you did, but like you kind of failed too. But like, you know, it's a lesson. And I learned a lot. And I definitely plan to continue trading as I mentioned and continue providing both inspiration and a platform so I could look back on and know that okay, progress is being made. Shoot, July 11th marked the day I blew the first opportunity I had to, work with FTMO. But it isn't my last opportunity, and I'm sure they'll be glad to have me again. But it does let me know what I need to improve on so that the second round is a lot more fruitful. And if we're able to manage and secure that 400K in the coming weeks here, you guys will know soon. So I think I'll probably end the video on that. It's pretty long at this point. So you guys, appreciate you guys hanging in there. You gotta stay healthy, stay positive, stay profitable, um, stay positive as well. I don't know if I said that already, but let's stay double positive because it's real. And definitely, if you're dealing with something or you might have just taken a loss, just know every boss gotta go through a loss. You gotta bounce back from that loss, and you gotta treat that loss like it's nothing, and you gotta come back even more beyond what you even lost to the point where that loss ain't even. It ain't like you treating it like it's nothing. It literally is nothing. So it's motivation, y'all. It's time to like really step this up, level it up, to go chase these dreams and get these goals accomplished. Whether that is to be established in your field and industry, whether that is to be a profitable trader, whether that's to release some music to the world, regardless of what you're out here after, pursue that with a little extra vigor right now because know that I'm about to be really attacking this. And I want everybody else to be attacking this too, regardless of what it is you're going after. Like, let's really get to it. Because I waited a bunch of years and I was so stagnant and scared about it to like really go for what I wanted. Once I really started going for it, I was like, damn, this is easier than I thought. And I ain't no anxiety with it now. It's just like, it's go. So just know it gets easier, yo. Coming from the guy who just lost $10,000 in a day, it gets easier. So we all gonna get there. I'm gonna check y'all on the next video, yo. Peace.